President Trump has insisted that Iran's nuclear sites were completely destroyed in the US strikes on Iran. His comments came after a leaked US intelligence assessment concluded that Iran's nuclear program had been set back by just a few months in the attacks. Details of the initial damage assessment were leaked to the BBC's US partner CBS and other media. The briefing was originally reported by CNN. Its preliminary finding is that Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not destroyed, and its centrifuges used to enrich the nuclear fuel are largely intact. CNN quoted one official as saying the US set them back maybe a few months tops. Well, President Trump hit out at what he called the fake news, posting on his Truth Social account. He said the reports were an attempt to demean one of the most successful military strikes in history, and the nuclear sites in Iran are completely destroyed. At a meeting of the UN Security Council, Israel's ambassador, Danny Danon, was asked about the damage done by the strikes. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think it's still early to assess all the strikes. We know we were able to push back the program. We were able to remove the imminent threat that we had.
Well, Brad Sherman is a Democrat congressman from California and a member of the US House Foreign Affairs Committee. He told us Iran appears to have a nuclear stockpile still in hand.
The fact is that there were photographs of trucks going to Fordo the day or two before the raid. Presumably, they moved the stockpile out. And nothing from the Trump administration says they got the stockpile. The stockpile's enough for roughly 9 nuclear weapons. Now, if they destroyed the centrifuges, that diminishes the ability of Iran to create the 10th, 11th, or 12th nuclear weapon. But when you just say the program, well, what does that mean? Does it mean the stockpiles? Does that mean the weaponization capacity? Does that mean the centrifuges? Using vague terms is what you do when you can't make a strong case using specific terms.
Well, our correspondent in Washington, John Donison, has more on what the initial reports of what the intelligence assessment said.
Well, several US intelligence officials have spoken to, first of all, to CNN and also the New York Times, but also to other American media. And what these intelligence officials have said is that a preliminary report into the extent of the damage to Iran's nuclear facilities from those attacks over the weekend by the United States show that while those facilities have been damaged, the nuclear program has not been significantly set back. They estimate it's been set back by up to 3 months. Now, before the attack, American intelligence thought that at a push, Iran could build a nuclear weapon within maybe 3 months. So they say they pushed that back to 6 months. But although there seems to be extensive damage, according to this report, to the exterior of, in particular, the Fordo nuclear facility, that huge facility buried deep underneath the mountain, they say that the centrifuges deep down under the mountain, although damaged, have not been destroyed. And crucially, the 500 or so kilos of enriched uranium, which is what Iran would need to build a weapon, well, that had been shifted out from the site before the attack happened. Now, it should be said that that version of events completely contradicts what the White House has been saying, what President Trump has been saying. And this evening, the White House and the Secretary of Defence, Pete Hegseth, have completely rejected these findings. They say that the facilities were completely obliterated. They say you can't drop such heavy bombs onto facilities without them being completely destroyed. And they say that the intelligence officials who leaked this information were trying to undermine President Trump. So I think the answer is we don't really know to what extent these facilities were damaged. I think, though, we probably will further down the line, because what you can say is that Israel's intelligence agencies, well, they have so successfully managed to infiltrate Iran's security network that they will be working hard to assess the full extent of the damage. And if they haven't been completely destroyed or significantly set back, then that begs the question, where are we going to be in a month, a few months' time? Are we just going to be back in the same position with Israel concerned about Iran pushing on with what it sees as nuclear ambitions.
John Donison, our correspondent in Washington there. Well, Sassan Karimi is a former Iranian government advisor and defended Iran's nuclear program while speaking to us earlier.
Iran's nuclear program is always has been always a peaceful one. And there was no argument about any divergence to weapon. It has been striked and it has been attacked illegitimately. And now with the bombs on Fordow, we don't know what is happening there. We don't know. Definitely, the administration knows, and it is a very over-demanding position from the United States and the others that bomb some place and then want to check the situation there through the IAEA or other ways. So this discussion is closed, and for future of the nuclear program of Iran, it is up to Iran, and I am positive that Iran will be able to rebuild anything destructed.
Well, to weigh up these latest developments, I talked to Andrea Stricker. She is Deputy Director of the Non-Proliferation Programme at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies. This is a group in the US that looks into national security and foreign policy. I asked for her reaction to the differing viewpoints on what damage has been done to Iran's nuclear facilities.
I think, as everyone is saying, it's too soon to tell from the battle damage assessment, right? We're hearing that phrase a lot, how far back Iran's nuclear weapons option has been set. And we have Israel saying that they've done around 2 years of damage to that option. I think if we're talking about the Fordow site, it is true that the facility below around 90 meters of earth could still be intact, but it's a real question whether some of the 2,700 centrifuges in that facility would still be able to function after sustaining such a huge blow. And then I think a lot has been not devoted attention-wise to the weaponization route, which Israel did serious damage to in the strikes before the US got involved. And so even if Iran wanted to go to the bomb in a dash effort, it really would have a difficult time doing so.
Is it possible to ever get a watertight assessment of their nuclear capabilities?
Well, ideally, we would get the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN nuclear watchdog, back in there to assess the damage and the status of Iran's nuclear material. And it's certainly my hope that the US or another broker, perhaps Europe, will be able to get the Iranians to agree to a negotiation or at least some kind of a deal that would let the IAEA back in and hopefully oversee a dismantlement process of all these remaining nuclear weapons assets.